my definition of God.
No, but it destroys the
Okay,
foundations and
move on.
fundamental. Wait, I'm not done. It destroys the fundamental pillars of your constructive speech in relation to the progress of this dialectic.
How?
If there is no relation of the nature of God in description to what he is, therefore there is no assignment to the validity of an ontological nature of anything, because there is no correspondence with its ontology. So in order for him to exist, we would first have to conclude him, but
Why are you setting
we have to
premises
understand his
to like
description.
why God can exist? Like why
Okay,
you trying to set
I'm trying to
set rules for God being able to exist? No, bitch, there is no rules for this nigga being able to exist, nigga. God is energy, God is omnipresent, omnipotent, he's everywhere at once.
You haven't answered my question.
You're trying to set laws and reason to why this is the only way God can exist. No, nigga,
do you understand? God. But that would be affirming the consequent. If God exists,
no. What you don't understand, you're trying to set rules and laws to where and only how God can exist. I'm not putting no rules or laws to why God can exist and the only way he can exist. Okay, no, nigga, I'm saying that God exists, and what I believe God to be is energy. And since I believe that God is energy, and we know that energy exists, and the energy is fucking omnipresent, nigga, it would fit my description of God. So in the middle of this debate, I have no contradiction. There's nothing wrong with my premise of what I think God to be. I think God is energy. If I believe God is energy and we know God, energy exists, I win this debate, and you're just arguing a bunch of bullshit gibberish.
Yeah, that's affirming. That's affirming the consequent. I mean, yeah,
it's not affirming shit. We know that energy exists. I think God is energy.
Okay,
it's so simple.
If God exists, then he's energy. God is energy, therefore God exists.
You can. I don't give a damn if you don't believe energy is God. I believe God is energy.
Okay, wait. That's affirming the consequent. Affirming the consequent is if A, then B, B, therefore A. It's a logical syllogism.
He's saying since energy exists, God exists. He's defining energy as God. That's the description of it. Simple.
It's so simple.
So if God exists, then energy.
Oh my God! If energy exists, then God exists.
Yeah, that's affirming the consequent.
Oh my God! Why do you believe it's affirming the consequent?
If A, then B, B, therefore A. If energy exists, then it would be the product of God. It's the product of God, therefore energy.
Oh my God!
Hold on. They're used interchangeably. Okay, look, he's defining God as energy. If you agree to the notion that energy exists,
okay, but he's defining. That's predefining.
Oh my God! Look, if he prescribes his description to energy and says that this is God, then you agree to this notion that God or energy exists. That means God exists. Simple.
If I make the claim that Santa is my dog, therefore Santa exists as my dog exists, I would have to argue what is the correspondence with the nature of the dog and Santa.
He's saying that God exists if and only energy exists. Since you agree to the notion that energy exists, that means God is existing.
No, but I'm arguing. I'm asking, how does it follow that if energy exists, necessarily God exists?
Look, he's giving his own definition of God. If you didn't disagree with that
that's the problematic issue. That's in correspondence with
nothing. If he's saying God exists, obviously he's talking about his own definition of God. If you didn't disagree with that, you should have defined it before.
But if that's what I'm arguing. If God is of the nature he describes, of course his argument can logically follow.
Okay, so then there's no disagreeing. The debate is over. GG's.
What? But that's still in affirming the consequent.
How is it? Okay, explain how it's affirming the consequent, other than falling back onto your initial argument, which isn't actual affirming the consequent.
It's if God exists, then he's of this nature. He's of this nature.
You keep saying if oh my God, look. God exists if and only if energy exists. Do you understand that? Let's go step by step.
Okay, wait. Affirming the consequent is if A, then B.
The consequent is when you're saying A. Affirming the consequent is when you're saying A is the only entailment of B.
No, it's if A, then B.
No, affirming the consequent is when you're saying B can only be entailed by A.
No, affirming the consequent is if A, then B.
What? Did you just say what? Okay, look, I'll explain.
Of course you said no. No, Infinity, you're just wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. Let me explain.
Go look it up.
Hold on. Affirming the consequent.
If A, then B, B, therefore A.
Exactly. That's what I just said. Yeah, B, therefore A. That means, hold on. That means you're trying to say that A is can only entail B. You're saying A is the only entailment of B.
So a valid argument would be.
Why did you just disagree with that? I just said that.
Infinity is so slow.
A valid argument would be if A, then B, A, therefore B. But he's arguing if A, then B, B, therefore A.
I think what Infinity is trying to defend is that
So he's saying.
on a bit material
wait. So where's the okay? First, let's go back to affirming and consequent. How did I define it improperly?
Yeah, you defined it improperly because you seem to hold the view that it's just saying that like, only A can entail B. That's not the case, right? The issue with affirming the consequence, just the material conditional's antecedent, is proven true by the consequent. Yeah.
It's exactly. That's what I just said. This thing is proven true by. No. It's proven true by the. Hold on. It's proven true by the consequent because you're saying that this consequent can only happen or occur if A occurs. Correct.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say that.
No. That's how I define it. You're saying that that's
well,
incorrect.
You're just defining it wrong. You're just defining.
Am I defining it incorrect? We can go to Google
because all the definition is just what Monkey Boy is giving, which is just that
if A and B, I don't disagree with that. I literally define it the same way.
No, you don't.
Okay, so then you would have to.
That you think that there are entailments you think are held by affirming the consequent that are.
But that follows.
I literally defined it the same way. I literally said that wait, hold on. I said the antecedent is the only thing that entails the consequent, and the consequent is the only thing that can be entailed from this antecedent. The only way.
Yeah, that's just not going to be the position of somebody who's affirming the consequent.
It's literally okay. Just I'll send it right now. That's literally what it is.
Okay, so that means it follows that both of you are cognizant that.
Hold on.
Infinity, do you just think that affirming the consequence just when you treat a material conditional as a biconditional?
I believe affirming the consequent is when you're saying that B can only be caused by A. As in, this is the only way that
answer my question.
I just told you what I believe it to be.
Yeah, no, I didn't ask what you believe it to be. I asked you, do you believe
You quite literally just said, do you think this is the case? And I just answered it.
Yeah, what do you think I said? What do you think the question was? Repeat it back to me.
Yeah, you literally said, do you think affirming the consequent is et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I told you what I believe it to be.
No, go ahead and fill in et cetera, et cetera.
Why do I need to? All you did was ask me a question. I fulfilled the question. I already answered.
You don't even know what the question was.
I do know the question. You asked me what I believe.
Yeah, go ahead and fill in et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead and fill in what the word.
I don't need to. All you did was ask what I believe affirming the consequent.
So, look, I feel like if you don't remember the question, we can. I
don't remember the entirety of the question. All I need to remember is the premise.
You don't remember any of it.
I do. You literally said, do you believe
I'll ask, how about I ask it again, and maybe we can... Look, how about I ask it again? It's just a yes or no question, okay? The question is just, do you believe that affirming the consequent is just when you treat a material conditional as biconditional? Do you think that's what that term means?
I already answered that question. I told you what I believe.
Was it yes or no?
I don't need to just give a yes or no. I already answered it.
Well, then you're not answering the question.
I already answered the question. I told you what I believe.
If somebody asks, do you believe this is X?
Yeah, you started. You started the question. Wait, hold on. You started the question with.
Oh, you go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Hold on. You started the question with, well, do you believe this? And then I said, well, I do believe it in this way. I'm saying what I believe.
So
I'm answering
yes, question. You do believe it?
I'm saying I already explained what I believe. If you're asking if I believe something or not, and I tell you what I believe, I don't need to answer the et cetera part.
If I say I believe God exists, and then somebody asks me, do you believe God exists in the sense that like God is material, or do you believe God exists in some other sense? Then somebody could say something like, I believe God exists, and that wouldn't answer the question, right?
I would answer the question because within this context.
Infinity, you're not understanding.
Hold on. I'm saying I believe God exists in this way. That's the same as I believe affirming the consequent is this. And I elaborate on what I believe.
This being what?
This being what? As in B can only be entailed from that specific A. That's what I believe affirming the consequent is.
Look, if I asked you, do you think a car is red? And you say, well, the car has wheels. Right, that doesn't answer my question.
That's not I'm asking you a different question. You're asking me what I believe. Wait, you're asking me what I believe affirming the consequent.
Well, I'm asking you if you think. No. I'm asking if you think that affirming. Do you think that it's sufficient, right, to say that somebody's affirming the consequence to say, is both necessary and sufficient to say that like they're treating a material conditional as a biconditional?
Oh, what are you talking about?
Which of those words was confusing?
Okay, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Do you think that affirming the consequence is just when you treat a material conditional as a biconditional? That's what I kept asking you.
No, I'm not. No. The biconditional was an example. I'm not saying a biconditional. Okay. No.
You understand? Do you understand why you're just misunderstanding the point, right?
No, I'm not. I haven't even. No. I'm confused. No, wait. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying where's the disagreements with my definition? Look, we're gonna go into the point later on.
You were trying to defend Baby Trev's position here under the guise that it was definition.
Yeah, after that. Right? But I'm asking where's the disagreements with my definition? We're gonna get into that after.
Well, the disagreement with your definition is that your definition would just entail that. I guess now it would just entail a contradiction. But earlier it was just that it would entail that anytime somebody treats a biconditional as a material, or chooses a material conditional as a biconditional, they're affirming the consequent. That's all it is. I never
put forth the biconditional as my definition.
No, you didn't say the word biconditional, right? But your view would just be the same as that.
Oh, are you referring to when I said God exists if and only energy exists?
You were saying that you think affirming the consequent is when you. Hold on, my audio is cutting out. You think affirming the consequent is when you treat some.
They timed out Reaper.
I don't know who that person is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you just seem to think it's the view that like affirming the consequent is when you have some if A then B, right? And the only way that B can be true is for A to be true.
Yes, that's what I believe it is.
So then you like that would mean you are in fact saying that it's just when you treat a material condition by
hold on. So if A then B.
Look, if you don't know a term I use, just tell me which term you don't know I use.
I understand.
You don't have to pretend you get it. Right? You don't have to pretend you get it.
Yeah, so I'm confused. That's exactly what affirming the consequent is. If you're saying if A then B, however, you believe A is the only thing that entails B or is the only cause for B, that would be fallacious. That's affirming the consequent.
So you think that?
No, that's
no. I can send the definition right now.
That isn't. What that would be is just treating a material conditional as a biconditional.
Hold on. I'm looking at the definition right now. That's exactly what it is. Hold on.
You're not looking at the definition.
I'll send it. It's literally that's it. That's in verbatim.
Look, this is like such a waste of time because I feel like you understand that you're wrong at this point.
Oh, I don't.
No, so in simplicity for transparency, affirming the consequent is because.
Hold on. Let me get this
definition. If the ascendant, then the consequent.
Yeah, I'm back. We still talk about this bullshit, bro. Bro, it's so simple, bro. So I said energy is God because energy fits my qualification of what I believe God to be.
But is your qualification in correspondence with reality ontologically, or is it an imaginary construct of
Is it an imaginary construct? What do you mean by imaginary construct?
Okay, so if it's imaginary, right, it's encapsulated in a conceptual state you can produce without correspondence to the nature of reality.
Okay, so what I'm going to say to that is I don't think yeah, can I finish? Can I finish?
If God hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. If God fundamentally exists, right, in reality, then there is attributes he holds, right? He has a property set. But if this property set is not indicative of his nature, rather you give him your own, imaginary property set to stipulate the condition of God's existence, then there is no argument in correspondence with the nature of God to facilitate the truth of God's ontological nature.
Yeah, okay, so what I'm going to say to that is there's no objective definition of God. I'm just using my definition of my way.
So then that would mean you would have to bite the bullet on you. That would mean you would have to bite the bullet because there's nothing that provisions God. If there is no correspondence to the nature of God, God cannot be justified to existing if there's no exhibited nature of him.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before I continue, Cynthia, the definition is right there. Lily completely agrees with me.
Yeah, well, that one, no, it doesn't. I'll explain to you over DMs if you want, but they're currently having an ongoing conversation. Sure. If you want, we can either wait for them to get done, or I'll just explain over DMs.
Is that Sonic?
That's not Sonic.
Nigga sound like Sonic. Anyway,
I don't know who Sonic is.
Yeah, back to the
I gotta
point.
go in less than 5 minutes, but
back to the point. So like, goddamn. So again, my qualifications and most people's qualifications for God are omnipresent, all-knowing, and the beginning of all. Would you agree to those premises for what God is?
No.
So what do you think God is? And why do you not agree to those premises?
Well, I'm not going to give arbitrary property sets in relation to an object in question. Whatever is reflected.
Okay. Is there anything wrong with the premises that I set for God to be real?
Well, are they posits? If they're posits and you can later demonstrate that those are the natures of God, then we can...
What does that mean?
Okay, so these are the properties of God, like realistically, or are they what you attribute to be
I
properties?
think these are like the realistic properties of what God is and what God should be.
So if this is the property set of an object, then it is in correspondence with it, right?
What?
So any property would be demonstrated by the nature of existing. It would be the product of an existing object.
Every existing object is like God's doing.
So how do you know this is in reflection or in correspondence to God?
Because I believe God is energy, because God fits the qualifications needed to be God.
He also fit the qualifications to suck my dick, fuck God, and fuck you, Baby Trey. Baby Trey, why you got your mama on your profile picture with your dumb ass, nigga? Your mama ugly as shit. I'm on your head now, Baby Trey.
Oh, no.
Somebody get Baby Trey profile.
Can this guy mute?
Baby Trey profile picture in the chat.
Look at this mama, bro. Oh, bitch ass nigga, don't make me come to the screen and beat your mother with a Fortnite pickaxe and get the victory royale. Oh, stupid bitch ass nigga, what's wrong with you? Stupid bitch ass nigga named Dirty Chicken Finger. I'm really finna beat your fucking grandmother with a fucking
Wait. Can this guy mute? We got 2 minutes.
Oh, dirty ass bitch ass nigga, what's wrong with this nigga? Goofy ass nigga laughing like he's a fucking joker. Stupid ass nigga, what's wrong with your stupid ass? Get your bitch ass out of me. Stupid bitch ass nigga. This nigga laughing at fucking lying mother nigga. This nigga stupid as shit.
Your mama look like carry for that one more.
Wait.
Your mama look like
Mute.
your mama look like.
Can someone mute him? Is there any mods here? Mute this
your mama
random
look
guy.
like she playing Medea. Your mama look like she a.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Anyways.
Okay, mute him. Okay. So let's say God's property set is a state of affairs, right?
Yeah, keep going.
What is the status quo? That would be the inference in which you can demonstrate viably this is the nature of God in correspondence with his ontological nature.
You said what?
So do you know what a status quo is?
No, what is it?
It's the existing state of affairs. So that you would have to give derivation as a form of inference to the framework that you describe God of that nature. So it then corresponds to it. So if God exists, how do we
Look at chat. That's his mama, nigga.
Okay, yeah. Who unmuted him?
Your mama ugly as shit, boy. Your mama look like an iTunes worker. Your mama look like she work at Amazon. Your mama ugly. Your mama look like she drank a bottle of bleach before she had you, nigga. You ugly as shit, and your mama ugly as shit. Y'all niggas are like y'all TikTok.
Okay, just mute him. Just mute him for yourself. Just.
TikTok kid ass.
Yeah, how long that is?
I muted him for me.
Your mama's a stalker mom.
I muted him for me, so
yeah, I got him, bro.
do the same.
I'll handle him later. So go ahead.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm about to leave in like less than 2 minutes. So if there is no actual correspondence that, infers through the framework of how you describe God, there would be a discrepancy. So unless God is actually of this nature, there must be reflection with God in which we can prove that exhibiting natures of God reflect him. So if God is to exist, this is what he's producing. So
yeah,
how would we
if God
okay,
was to
so if this is if the way you define God is right, whatever, let's suppose that's what God's nature is. That means we can do the inverse, meaning God portrays these. How do you determine that this is what God is exhibiting?
How do I determine what? Okay, so again, how I determine this shit, man?
It's an indeterminate presuppositional hypothesis. It's called the problem with character. It's exactly why no theist position can hold, because God cannot be described. He's an immaterial supernatural being that holds no reflection in correspondence to reality. So in order to define God, that would be arbitrary. So you would instantly have a self-refuting position.
So who determined that God is some illogical being or whatever? Why can't God be logical?
Supernatural?
Yeah, who determined that he is supernatural?
Well, that means he can't be the precondition if he's instantiated by nature. God is supposed to be what describes the product of facilitation to nature and the natural reality, right? When we talk about naturalism, that's like, we can take this synonymously with material reality.
Yeah,
what created the universe, right? The universe is the cosmos, is the entirety of material reality. So when people say God made the universe, that which makes material reality is also of material reality. Well, then what founded material? And it just makes an infinite regression.
Yeah, I feel you on that, my boy. Hey, so like based off that, bro, you win, bro. I can see you got that. GG's, bro. Nice to meet you.
It was dope. Yeah, you're so much more chill than most people.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Chill too, bro. You had a nice time. You just gotta dumb shit down. I ain't on that philosopher nerd shit. You feel me? No disrespect.
Yeah, but I still slammed Gias, so.
Man, shut the fuck up, nigga. The only thing you slam is my dick in your mouth, bitch ass nigga.
Dirty
your name
fingers,
is literally Monkey
bring
Boy,
your
nigga.
ass there. Bitch ass nigga, you
out.
thought you was safe, nigga? You thought you was just gonna sit on the sideline, bitch ass nigga? You thought this shit was really sweet? All aboard the choo-choo train.
Me just for you can see, nigga. You suck as a baby, nigga. You suck all your roles, nigga. Take this nigga, bro. I'ma take your face. I'ma take your wife, nigga.